government has now banned all demonstrations in Nairobi, Kisumu and Mombasa business districts. Acting Interior CS Fred Matiang'i says the move is aimed at protecting lives and property. But as our Timothy Otieno now reports, NASA has vowed to defy the ban, which it terms as illegal.
There is a tsunami coming. There is a hurricane coming. And nobody can stop this hurricane.
Just a day after NASA announced it was upping the ante by having daily demonstrations from next Monday, the government is striking back. According to the cabinet secretary, protests are taking a heavy toll on the nation's economy.
We will not allow demonstrations within the central business districts of Nairobi, Mombasa, and Kisumu.
And the government blames one man, NASA's CEO Norman Magaya, for what they term as increasing cases of vandalism and looting as seen in such videos that go viral nearly every week. The CS blames Magaya for kickstarting the demos 3 weeks ago.
All Kenyans whose property was destroyed or looted during the demonstrations to report to the OCS Nairobi Central Police Station to facilitate the legal action we intend to take against the said Mr. Magaya, the organizer of the demonstrations.
But the NASA leadership, in a swift rejoinder, dismissed the CS's threat to target Magaya for the destruction of property, accusing Matiang'i of a political witch hunt.
We dare him here and now as NASA. We have a battery of lawyers that are finer and better than any lawyer that Jubilee has on their ranks.
Matiang'i says that the Public Order Act requires the convener of street protests to bear the greatest responsibility when damages occur to businesses during the demonstrations.
We will be the most irresponsible government if every day innocent people, grocery owners, small businesses in Nairobi are having very serious challenges.
Section 5 of the Public Order Act, however, does not expressly lay blame on specific individuals in case of property damage.
The responsibility to ensure that you are protected as the demonstrator, the responsibility to ensure that other businesses and other Kenyans are not interfered with, rests with the police, not the person giving the notice. It is not true, as Matiang'i says.
The Act, however, outlines under Article 7 that the organizer of every public meeting or public procession or his authorized agent shall be present throughout the meeting or procession and shall assist the police in the maintenance of peace and order at the meeting or procession. And the fallout over the ban, it appears, is getting personal between NASA principal Moses Wetangula and Fred Matiang'i.
I sent him this message via SMS. Mr. Matiang'i, why don't you engage a lawyer to advise you on the constitutionality of your actions, utterances, and threats to innocent Kenyans? You have no power or capacity to ban lawful protests and or demonstrations. You know what he replied? A single word, nonsense. And I simply sent back an SMS to tell him, that is exactly what you are. Arrogant, distasteful, and unfit to hold public office. And indeed, that is what he is.
The directive, which comes on the eve of yet another demonstration slated for Friday, according to the opposition, will not change their plans as they seek to continue with their push for what they see as necessary electoral reforms. Timothy Otieno, KTN News.
Thank you, Tim. The latest bone of contention between the opposite sides of the political divide. Let's now bring in our Sophia Wanona, who has also been on these beats, joining us live from our City Center studio. Sophia, good evening. What do we know?
Good evening, Ben. Just moments ago in the Big Story show, just before the bulletin, we got to speak to Norman Magaya, who's the CEO of the National Super Alliance Secretariat, and we raised the issues from today's developments with him. And one of the things he does dispel is that NASA supporters were in no way involved in the acts of looting or vandalizing of vehicles or destruction of property that was witnessed during the demonstrations, saying those were criminal elements that police need to take action against. Also, Norman Magaya is this evening discounting the pronouncements by the acting CS Interior Fred Matiang'i that charges would be preferred against him of the cost implications coming out of the destruction of property, saying that there is no basis and grounding in law to charge a person over acts committed by another. In fact, he went ahead to give an example of when a bus was torched and individuals moved to court claiming that Raila Odinga and Kalonzo Musyoka should have taken responsibility, and the judge threw away that case, saying that there is no way for one to take responsibility for acts, criminal acts by other individuals. But let's listen to what he said just moments ago.
These culprits can be identified and police will be able to arrest them because then they were not part of our demonstrations. But most significantly is that we have been giving notices for our demonstrations. But there's another group, the Nairobi business community, that has not bothered to apply for any demonstration permit from police. They have been there every time we go for these demonstrations, and largely they are responsible for most of this looting and violence that has been witnessed in the city. And I think we will appeal to the police to go after the members of this proscribed gang, because this was a gang that was proscribed by the late Minister for Security, George Saitoti. There has been no gazette notice to legalize them. They remain an illegal entity, and the police should move against them and arrest them. They have not sought permission in accordance with the law to demonstrate, and so they have no right to be on the streets interfering with those who have submitted themselves to the law.
So you're arguing the looters not part of the NASA team demonstrating, but your letter to the police also indicated that you'd organize for there to be peace marshals that would ensure everybody sticks to the route that has been granted at least permission to use during the protesters. During the demonstrations, I beg your pardon, has this happened? Because what we've seen is a rather almost just playing it by the year when it comes to the day of protesting.
I think we introduced the concept of demonstration peace marshals from last year so that we are able to manage the group that we have. And it will have helped that these peace marshals who are working with the police to be able to identify who are the members who are part of the group that is demonstrating and who are these looters that want to take advantage of the demonstrations to interfere with the general public tranquility. So this provision for peace marshals is an idea we developed last year. We have continued to recruit more members into it so that we have orderly processions. And you will agree with me that we had our group that moved from Uhuru Park through Haile Selassie, through Kenyatta Avenue, back to Koinange Street, through University Way, and they came back to Uhuru Park.
All right, Norman Magaya, NASA Secretariat CEO there, Ben adamant, and they remain firm, him alongside the rest of the NASA team that come tomorrow. Those demonstrations that are set across various parts of the country will continue, and in fact right into the CBD, arguing that the headquarters for the IEBC is in the heart of the city, and so they will be heading there tomorrow. Ben.
Sophia, so what have you been able to gather concerning the demos? Will Raila Odinga be part of the demos? Is incidentally out of the country. What next in as far as NASA are concerned?
What next is to keep that pressure mounting, Raila Odinga out of the country, but the supporters are still here. And so they're keeping tight and holding the fort in as far as ensuring whatever the agenda is, that is being upheld. What next other than tomorrow's protest? Ben, next week, it's a notch higher. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday will be demonstrations in various cities across the country. country. So this is one story that will continue to develop, and we'll wait to see what action, if at all, as the acting CS Interior Dr. Matiang'i promised he'll be taking, if at all it will be taken, and under what law, because according to Norman Magaya, there is no basis and no clause in law that allows for action to be taken against him over these looters. And also, of course, a lot of attention on the police, because what we are likely to see tomorrow going with this ban is a face-off between the protesters and the police.
Okay, what about the NASA leader, Raila Odinga, Sophia? Have we heard anything from him or about him since, he left the country?
He has been meeting several leaders, and of course, other international communities, we're hearing them commenting about the situation here in Kenya, and a lot of concern around what is seen largely as a very delicate situation. So calls for both sides of the political divide to be able to come together, to be able to talk, to be able to reach an agreement. And many see Kenya at a precipice, and that is the concern that anything could trigger a rolling down in as far as where we are as a democracy. And so he has been meeting various parties out there. He's been posting on social media. And of course, he's set to give a talk about the situation in Kenya. And so we'll be looking forward to that and updating our viewers on the same. Ben.
Many thanks, Sophia.